For years, I thought I was doing everything right with my money. I was not reckless, I did not spend everything that I earned, I lived below my means, I was careful, and I genuinely believed that this is a huge part of building wealth. But I was missing something. I was confusing not spending with saving. And those are two completely different things. So today I want to show you the difference, because understanding this is a very important step of efficiently building wealth. If you're new here, I'm Sophia, I'm a doctor from Germany, and on this channel we talk about how to build wealth without you having to give up the life that you want to live. I want to show you how money actually works so that the decisions you are already making, like I did back in the day, actually lead you somewhere. So let's get into it. When I was a student, I was already quite careful with money. Not because I already had clear financial goals, not because I was following any plan, just because it was not in my nature to spend money recklessly. I would look at something and think, do I really need this? Often the answer was just no, so the money stayed. It sat in my bank account month after month, and I felt okay about that. I thought, I am saving, I am responsible, at least I'm not doing anything wrong. But here's what was actually happening. That money had no purpose, it had no destination, it was just sitting there. And money that is just sitting there is just waiting to be spent. Spent some other time. Sometimes it's a holiday, sometimes something for the apartment, sometimes just a series of small things that I wouldn't even remember a month later. So when you really look at this, I wasn't saving, I was delaying spending. And I wasn't really aware of the difference back then. By the way, I wasn't the only one doing it like that. I was talking to a colleague of mine that was years after I fixed this for myself, and he told me roughly how much he's saving every year. And then I asked him where he puts it or what he's doing with that money. And his answer was, well, it's just sitting in my bank account. And I remember thinking in this moment, he is not saving money efficiently either. He's just accumulating money in his bank account. So there's no destination, no separation, no system. And this is actually not unusual. Many people have done exactly this at some point, or they're still doing it right now. So the problem here is not the intention. The problem is that without the right infrastructure, a good intention is just not enough. So let me explain what is actually going on here. And I call this the two types of saving. And most people only know one of them, or they mix them up without realizing it, like I did. Okay, so the first type is what I call save to spend. And save to spend can happen in two different ways. One is the unconscious version, like in my own story and the story I told you from my doctor colleague. And that is, you do not spend money in the moment. It just accumulates in your bank account, and then you think about this as saving. But it doesn't really have a purpose, and at some point you will just spend it. And then there's also a conscious version, which is a well-known saving strategy in the personal finance space. It's called saving for purchases. So that is when you deliberately set money aside for something specific that you want to spend it on. That can be a car, it can be a holiday, it can be a new laptop. So you already know what it's for, and you also know that at some point you will spend that money. And as you can maybe already tell, I'm not a big fan of this saving for purchases, because I think it can be a bit dangerous. Not the concept itself, accumulating money to buy something you want to have, but calling this saving can make you feel safe about what you're doing, but at the end of it, you're not building any wealth at all. Are you guys getting this? So in the end, it doesn't really matter if you're unconsciously just accumulating money in your bank account to spend it later, or if you're actively saving, to buy something. Both of these are just a way of save to spend. And so let's talk about the second type, which is the one that actually builds us wealth. And this is what I call save to keep, because this is money that you actively move into assets. You move it into an actual savings account, for example, to build your cash reserve, or you move it into your investment account so that your money actually starts working for you. So you put that money into things that make it grow. And the intention behind this is to not spend it. Not right now, not in 5 years, not even in 10. And this is the money that actually builds you wealth. Okay, now in case you're wondering what's wrong with having money in my checking account, here's why the checking account does not work. When your savings live in the same account where you also spend your money from on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, then your brain does not separate them. You look at your balance, you see a number, and that number feels available. It's just there. Imagine it like this. If you like chocolate like I do, and you keep it on the desk in front of you, you will eat it, because it takes a lot more willpower if the thing is visible and accessible. So just like the chocolate on your desk, Your brain treats the money in your checking account as available and accessible. But if you want to actually reduce how much chocolate you're eating, the best way to do that is to increase friction. So the friction for you to have the chocolate. In this case, it would be not having any chocolate at home in the first place. And the same applies to money in your bank account. The only reliable way to protect it from being spent is to move it somewhere else. Move it out of sight, move it out of reach. And of course, move it somewhere where it's also working for you. So that is into a separate account that is not your everyday account. And that's the way for us to increase friction of spending that money on anything else. And by the way, the most powerful way to do that is to make it automatic. So to have a recurring order that moves that money into that separate account the day your salary arrives, because that is when it's actually still available. So not just 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks later. And that way that money is doing what it's supposed to be. It's safe to keep. For those of you who have followed me for a while, you know this is my favorite savings method. It's pay yourself first. Okay. But infrastructure alone is not enough. We need a second thing to make that saving really work, and that is a purpose. So every dollar you set aside should not just have a destination as in a separate account, it should also have a purpose. So some of it may be your cash reserve. Okay, so you may know it as emergency fund. I just decided to call it cash reserve because for me it has a more positive annotation. So that is money you keep accessible for unexpected expenses. I recommend at least 6 months of living costs, sitting somewhere safe and separate so that a broken car or another surprise bill doesn't destroy your plan. By the way, this is not safe to spend, because the purpose of the cash reserve is to always have one. So even if you have to spend that money because that unexpected expense is coming up, you still fill it up afterwards, so it's basically always there. That is just in case that question popped up in your head. Or another purpose could be your freedom fund. That's what I like to call it. That is any type of investment you put your money in to turn it into even more money, so that you do not touch, that compounds over time, and at some point makes you financially free. So when money has a purpose, it doesn't just disappear. And if you want, you could even call the conscious version of save to spend into this category of having a purpose, because after all, it does mean that you're spending your money with intention on something that's important to you, which is a good thing. Because when you don't have a purpose at all, then the money is just waiting for any reason to arrive to spend it, and one always does. When I finally understood this years ago, first of all, it made everything easier for me. Easier as in no guessing anymore, not counting, not feeling guilty. And second of all, it actually started me building something, like systematically building wealth and having something to see and to measure. And for the first time, I could see a number that was only going one direction, which was up. Because when you have money in your bank account, that number fluctuates all the time, right? Income comes in, then you have expenses, then it gets a bit less, and so on. But when I opened those separate accounts and I gave my money a destination to them and set up the automatic transfers so I don't have to think about them anymore, that was when I could see my wealth moving and not just sitting like before. This, by the way, is exactly what I'm teaching in my Financial Freedom web class, how you build a system for yourself that builds wealth automatically while you live your life. And it doesn't matter if you're earning 70,000 a year or 170,000 a year, because the amount is not what makes it work, the structure is, just like we talked about in this video. Anyway, it is live, it is free, and if you want to sign up, there's a link down below. So I hope this was useful. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.